Welcome everyone to another episode of Jabs' First Impression Sports Talk. Tonight we have a good show for you guys. I have my dad back and Jeremiah, so let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jabs' First Impression Sports Talk. And the first topic of the night is going to be Kyrie Irving versus the Boston Celtics. So this past weekend, the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets started off their series, and the Celtics ended up winning in a layup, last-second layup from Jason Tatum. And we saw throughout the game that Kyrie Irving was being heckled by fans. He was flicking them off. He yelled a lot of profanity at them. There was just a lot of back and forth. So, Dad, I want to start with you. Whose side are you on with this? Like, I know there was a lot of conversation today about, oh yeah, I agree with Kyrie Irving for sticking up for himself, but for the Boston fans, should the Boston fans let it go?
Well, one of the things is Kyrie Irving's not homegrown, so I think at this point they need to let it go now. Boston is one of those tough sports towns, so they're going to heckle him. I mean, it's fair game when he's in Boston. So yeah, they're going to continue to heckle him, but it should get to the point now where I mean, he didn't produce for them, so it wasn't really anything. I mean, he didn't do anything for the franchise. So now he's moved on. I think they just need to focus on what's going on now. But yeah, he's fair game to get heckled while he's there because he did kind of leave under not so good terms, and they felt like he just kind of didn't do anything for him. So I do understand where the fans are coming from because you come there, they expect to get their money's worth, and you didn't give them what they were looking for because actually you were there, and they're thinking about the Cleveland Kyrie, and they never really got that person. They got spurts here and there, but they didn't get the guy that they thought was going to actually bring them a championship or bring them close to a championship. So I do side with the fans more so than him.
Jeremiah, do you side more with the fans or Kyrie? Because we do know he will be getting fined for a lot of
There's
gestures.
definitely he's definitely gonna get fined. I would say maybe 40 or 50K maybe because of different instances that just happened. But to answer your question, I take a 50-50 approach to it because just like Mr. Pollock said, when it comes to Kyrie, he's done as much as he could for Boston at the time as he did. He left in a bad note that I can say. I'm not going to agree with the fans when it comes to saying, either if it's, they play saying F his family or anything towards, going over the limits when it comes to it. Now, heckling, I can understand because no matter what, Kyrie, you are going to be the opposing team. At the end of the day, you are in their house. Although you're not, a part of that team no more. The key is not really under the mat for you because they took it away and because you just left out without even, saying a goodbye. It was a go. So I feel like for Kyrie, you can't, retaliate the way that you're doing. Now I can understand, if they're going a little bit overboard, but it's a certain thing with compose yourself, play within your game, hurt them on the court, putting your game. He had 39 points, but I feel like, if he's putting that stuff inside of his game, he can be very dangerous and he can shut him up. But him keep feeding off to the crowd, that's gonna let them go even more. We've seen so many villain ones like this. You've seen the time when LeBron left Cleveland. He became the biggest villain for Cleveland. The first time he came back to Miami, they had to have so many police guards and securities for that game. It was almost like an NBA Finals. And during that game, every time he touched the ball, it was boos, it was heckling, wishing him death, and everything else. And I just feel for Kyrie that for himself, for him, he needs to put this on the floor. And if you keep on going back and forth and you trying to give him all your energy, then those people gonna see that they got you. They're gonna be like, we're gonna do it more and more and more. You gotta hurt them on the floor and probably get your team to a win.
I agree. And for me, like when I look at this whole situation, like Kyrie didn't really help himself when he first left because you're saying to the press, oh, I will be here as long as Boston will have me. That's his words that he said. And then the Boston fans see you go team up with KD in Brooklyn. And of course, the fans are going to be like, oh, you were here we were expecting you to do a lot of great things here. We were expecting a championship because, when you go to a Boston Celtics or Los Angeles Lakers, those are big title towns. Those are big towns where we want championships. We want to compete for championships. So signing a Kyrie Irving means that you're trying to get to that next step to win a championship. So the fans, of course, are going to be very irritated and they're going to continuously get up on our skin. But like you both said, like, Kyrie cannot allow them to get here, because once they get there, they feel like they have you. And of course, he had a sensational game in the game one, but still, like, the fans are still coming at him. They're going to continue to attack him. He needs to just focus on his craft, focus on the game, and do what Kyrie has always done. Now, to me, I think this series, there's a lot of questions that are going to be had about this series, because when you look at it, Durant didn't have the greatest of games usually see him play. And, there's going to be a lot of issues with that, because the way the defense of Boston played, they threw a lot of different things at Durant. So, of course, now if we can continuously see Durant play the way he did, which I don't think he will, but when we start transferring over to on the defensive side of the ball, Kyrie is not that good of a defender either. But we're going to see. I think when it comes to this series, Dad, you think it's going to go longer just based off how the game ended. So, Dad, like, what is your take? Who do you think is going to win this series? And do you think, like, the fans heckling Kyrie is going to have an effect on his play?
Well, if Kyrie Irving has that killer instinct, that killer mentality, or that Mamba mentality a lot of people talk about, that killer instinct that Jordan has, Kobe and players like that, that could work against the fans, because you don't want to get a guy like that laser focused who has the skill set and you fuel him night in and night out to basically show you. Because he scored 36 points in the first game, and I think Kyrie, when he's healthy and he's out there, he's pretty consistent with his game. Mm-hmm. I think you have to worry about now, as Boston, the way they won that game, you got to worry about, well, is Kevin Durant going to perform the way he performed last night, the same way, or the other night? I don't think so. And I think that for Boston, they're going to have to really dig into their bag, because if you have a consistent night from Kyrie and you get any contribution from any of the other players and they get a couple stops and Kevin Durant plays like we know he can play, I think that the Nets could very well win this series, but it's all based off of the strategy and what the Nets are going to do, because they can't just rely on basically, it looks like Kyrie and Durant going to have to score 60% of the points for the team or more just from to get out of this series, because I do think that Boston is a much more complete team. But being that said, you got two of the top sharpshooters in the league on one team. So that can go any way at any time. And if the Nets play any semblance of defense, I think they'll win this series. But that has a lot to do with their defense and how well Durant's going to play, because I think Kyrie has been consistent throughout his career when he's on the court.
And the biggest question that all the fans want to know is, will Ben Simmons make an appearance in the series? That's a big question, because remember, during the regular season, they did the big trade and swapped Kyrie Harden and Ben Simmons with each other. Mm-hmm. And of course, when you add Ben Simmons, you expect a defensive efficiency with a Ben Simmons.
Jazz, I have one question. So,
yes.
In reference to the fans, sorry, we kind of got off. So the whole question about the fans, do you think, and this is a question for you, that the fans sometimes take it too far?
Yes.
I mean, it gets to a point like say, for instance, some of the fans, it's one thing to boo, but some of the fans start to get really insulting, and I'm starting to see where they're starting to eject more fans from the game. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with them being ejected and banned, because these are still human beings at the end of the day, and they're getting paid to play a sport. They're playing in a big series. They're playing against their opponent. They want to win just as much as the other team. They have every right to feel attacked. Kyrie has every right to feel attacked and feel like, these people are coming after me. But I just don't agree with it. Nothing wrong with boos, because that's just what fans do, booing or laughing and things like that, those kinds of antics. But when you start cursing at people, throwing things, and we've seen that before in the past, these fans just start getting outrageous, that's where it draws the line, because these players are still human beings. just like everyone else. They're just playing a sport. We're paying to come see these guys play. And some of the fans feel like they're entitled because I paid X amount of dollars to sit at this seat, so I feel entitled to do that, and that's not right. So when you look at that, the fans should be banned for things like that. I think they should be fined. I think they should be suffer the harshest consequences for that because these are still human beings at the end of the day. But that wraps up this segment. We're going to go into NFL. The Packers finally make a move, guys. So we'll be back. We're going to go into a midpoint break with Kelly Johnson with the weather and traffic and Deion Hunter with the Smoke Shack and a movie preview. We'll be right back.
Kelly Johnson with your Hits 88 traffic and weather on the 5s. The outer loop is backed up from Parkville into Pikesville. It clears past Reisterstown Road, but expect delays up to 40 minutes. The inner loop is heavy from 95 through Wilkins and looks like an accident on 70 East heading towards Columbia. Take 40 heading into the city. And in weather, current temperature is 44 degrees. Expect lows in the 30s tonight. Slight chance of snow overnight, but nothing to worry about. Should clear and we'll be in the 40s by noon tomorrow. This is Kelly Johnson for Hits 88.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you The Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impressions Sports Talk. Be sure to join Jasmine every week for great conversation on the NBA, NFL, and a wide variety of sports topics. To see past episodes of First Impressions Sports Talk, go to YouTube and search First Impressions Sports Talk. You can connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. And now, back to more First Impressions Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impressions Sports Talk. And the final topic of the night is the Green Bay Packers have signed a wide receiver in free agency. Yes, I said it. It's shocking, I know. We end up signing Sammy Watkins to a one-year deal. And I've just been waiting for the Packers to make a move. I was getting worried, like if we were, I don't know what was going on up there in Green Bay. After losing a big piece like Devontae Adams, trading him to the Las Vegas Raiders, it just felt like, what's the direction the Packers are going to head to? So we finally signed a receiver. Jeremiah, I want to ask you, what is your reactions to Sammy Watkins signing?
Well, when it comes to Sammy Watkins signing, I feel like it's a great thing for the Packers to actually put a big name right there. But my only question is, how much is he going to produce and actually stay on the field? Because we know that Aaron needs a target person to throw right now. With Adams gone, he's down a limited when it comes to receivers and also having big names around for himself. Mm-hmm. So, for the Green Bay Packers, it's a great thing that they did get him, but what's also next just in case? Because I'm just wondering, because you have the draft coming right around the corner, which is next Thursday. Are they going to go in and try to maybe get more wide receivers? Are they going to try and, pick up for defense? Like, you don't know when it comes to the Green Bay's front office, because they can surprise you in so many ways. You saw even from years ago getting a quarterback when they needed, certain receivers. And then, this draft, they can maybe draft a safety or something. You don't know. So for the Green Bay Packers, I think right now the biggest step for them is get as much pieces as it is out right now. You have so many other wide receivers that's on the market that you can have also as a secondary, also as a backup, just in case of anything goes wrong. Because if you guys want to be that certain contender, you got to move, and you guys have to put the right pieces in there to stay as contenders.
The most crazy thing about this whole situation is when we lost to the 49ers in the NFC Championship a couple years ago, All we needed was more weapons. Literally, that's all we needed. And we didn't do that. We did the total opposite. Now we get rid of our top weapon just to sign more weapons. It's just bizarre. But Dad, what is your take on the Sammy Watkins signing? And is it a plus or a negative for the Packers?
Well, I'll say this. When Sammy Watkins came out of Clemson, he was a very explosive guy. He was actually one of those speed guys. I don't think Sammy Watkins' career has lived up to the hype of what he thought it was going to be or what people thought he was going to be, and it had a lot to do with the injuries. When he's on the field, he's a pretty decent second guy, but as far as being the number one guy, I think the Packers may have made a slight mistake. Now, if he's healthy throughout the season, he's going to be a decent addition to their team, but I think he's going to need a number one guy or someone else that is a viable threat on the other side, because if you look at the history of where he's played at, a lot of the places they've had other good receivers. That's really taking the pressure off him as a number one, because, unfortunately, I don't think he has the speed that he had. He's still quick now, don't get me wrong, but with the injuries, he's nowhere near what he was. So I just, and like I said, I like Sammy Watkins. I hope he does go out there and play well, but just the data out on him is he doesn't finish seasons. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a big deal with how the Packers pass the ball. They're going to try to utilize him quite a bit. And I do think that they're going to have some things up their sleeve with the draft and different things like that. But the Packers are kind of, I don't sometimes understand the moves that they're making, because you have Aaron Rodgers, arguably one of your most talented quarterbacks that to ever come into the league. And it's like they're doing everything around him not to make him successful, like really focusing on getting better running backs, getting receivers, getting the right players, and even some of the defensive moves don't make sense. So I'm just anxious to see how he handles that, because Devontae Adams, I get it. What he was probably asking and what they're offering out there, the Packers, they couldn't pay him all that money. They already gave Aaron Rodgers a pretty big contract. They couldn't pay him all that money.
Well,
so
I got a question for you guys, though.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys, though. Do you guys think that the Packers, before the draft happens, do you think they should go for a trade to get a big name?
What
Who's
trade?
Gonna go? Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't dislike the Sammy Watkins signing, because I think it's, you add depth at receiver, but you have Julio Jones out there still. Julio Jones is still out there. Nobody has signed him yet. And honestly, like, of course, they say, he's injury prone, he's getting older, but man, I wouldn't be upset of getting a Julio Jones. He played well with the Titans last year, even though he got injured, but when they did ask him to play, he played.
He was a big factor, yeah.
Exactly. But when it comes to us trading, who are we trading for? Like, where are we going to go? Because for one, I honestly do not really trust this front office for obvious reasons. I really don't trust them. When we needed certain things, we go the total opposite. When it's time to go in free agency, when we had so many years to, literally last season alone, when Odell left the Cleveland Browns, that was our chance to go attack, get someone like that to be on the other side of Devontae. That opens up the playbook a lot.
Yeah, because I feel like they waited all the way to the end right now, and all the pieces are kind of almost taken all the way out. And exactly. I feel like right now, you're sitting on so many first-round picks, and even from the next year, I feel like you can just put the cards all on the table because you guys want to win right now.
And also, it's just so irritating because I see a lot of these other teams. They, especially young quarterbacks, you see a lot of these young quarterbacks that have two top receivers. Even Tannehill, he has the luxury of having Julio Jones, AJ Brown, and Big Henry in the backfield. And we know Tannehill is not Aaron Rodgers at all. And it frustrates me because it's like you have so many of these young quarterbacks around who are getting everything. They're building around their quarterbacks now. And you have Aaron Rodgers, who's, like Dad said, one of the great quarterbacks to come in this game, one of the most talented quarterbacks to do this. They're slow. It's like, are we preparing for the future, or are we doing the now? I mean, Aaron is still playing at a high level now, so why aren't we building around him now? And that is my frustration, because in the draft, for one, I thought our defense got a lot better these past few years. I mean, I was very impressed with our defense this season. I was very impressed, especially when we played the 49ers. our defense played our end of the bargain in that game. It was a defensive game most of the game until the block punt, and then it went south from there. But my issue is the defense starts to climb, and then the offense is now coming down. When I thought the offense was the component that carried the team. And now it's going to be, there's a lot of questions. Now, I'm glad we got some of those defensive pieces back. I'm glad that we still have that same defensive philosophy still. I'm thankful for that. But now, what is the offense going to look like? I mean, Devontae and Aaron had a connection that was one of the best connections ever seen. So it's going to be a huge deal. Like, if we do draft a receiver, that means Aaron has to spend time with him and get back into that grind and build a rapport with him. When this is not even a strong offensive draft this year. It's really not. Whereas last season, you had a lot of young receivers that came out, like the Jamar Chase, the Devontae Smith from a bunch of top receivers. Packers don't do anything. So, Dad, to you, what do you think the ceiling is for the Packers now? Like, when we look at the NFL right now, the AFC is really stacked. Like, you have the NFC still around, but there's not, like, the way the AFC is stacked right now, it's ridiculous. Like, it's going to be a dogfight next season. Dad, what do you think the Packers, where are they going to land at? Like, heading into the postseason, are they going to get back to that,
Well, my question was not really a question. What I'll say is, by them losing Devontae Adams, did they get better? And the answer would be no. Right now, if they have somebody better, okay, well, we don't know who that person is. So that means that they've taken a step back since they let Devontae Adams go. So now, can you say that, well, maybe this is going to create an atmosphere where Aaron Rodgers is going to distribute the ball to different people? Could they get better that way? Maybe so, because he has to rely on different people. Because just to your point that you just made about him, a new receiver coming in, like a rookie or out of college, he's got to do the same thing with Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins got to learn the terminology. He's got to learn what make Aaron click. They got to learn the timing. They got all that stuff that they have to do. And Aaron is at a stage in his career where he don't have time to go back. And what you were saying about the other team, you got teams out there that they're building, and they have these rosters of people that's seemingly going to be there for a while. Mm-hmm. So, you look at, the Chiefs and what they have for so long, of course, Tyreek is gone from there. But if you look at that chemistry that those guys had, it's one of the more explosive offenses in the league. And I think Aaron has suffered the last few years from poor decision-making in the front office. And yeah, people have a lot of things to say about Aaron and his demeanor and how he is, which I'm sure he's not a perfect person. But just some of the moves, like recently going out and drafting the quarterback and picking, putting that out there instead of saying, well, hey, let's draft and show this guy what we're going to do, how we appreciate him. When you look at Brady can pretty much call his shots. So he can go to a different franchise and tell them what they want, what he wants, and they give it to him. Aaron has been there with the franchise his entire career, and they're not even listening to him, because he even expressed that last year about not being at the table when they make those decisions, which that's where I think the Packers are going to struggle, because how can you not include the leader of your team? And to me, it's kind of disrespectful when people think, oh, they paid him. But it's not the point. Sometimes, they paid him, but you got to think, Aaron Rodgers has been making money.
Yeah.
So now it's to a point where I want to win. I want to leave a legacy. So what's my legacy going to look like? Oh, we're putting a few people here, a few people there. No, I need something solid. And he's at a point in his career where Aaron Rodgers is up there in age. So we're looking at that time frame where it's almost that time. So what is he going to do in the next couple of years? So,
and even with that, also to top that off, Brady and Aaron are very good friends. Oh. They literally hang on the golf course all the time. They're actually having the whole golf course, him and Aaron versus Mahomes and Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. So you don't think, Aaron's hanging out with Brady. They have talks. They have conversations. They're always talking to each other. You don't think in Aaron's mind, like, okay, I see Brady. He's getting, of course, Brady is great. He's getting he got all the accolades. Then he goes to the Bucks, and they gave Brady everything his first year, everything. We'll get you anybody. We just need the ring. Mm-hmm. And Aaron's sitting in Green Bay. He's been loyal to this fan base. He's been loyal to the organization. and nothing happened. Like, I mean, the only star receivers that we had that I can remember since I was watching was Jordy Nelson, Devontae.
You had, well,
No,
I mean,
since
some people,
well,
you
yeah,
had
since I was
Greg,
watching.
you
Since
had
I was
Greg,
watching.
you had Greg Jennings that was there too. You had Antonio Driver that was there. So he had some decent guys in there. But yeah,
Stars, Dad. Like, I mean, a star
I
receiver.
think Jennings was a star at the time. He was a pretty decent receiver. He wasn't like the top, but he still was that guy. You knew who he was.
Yeah,
And
back
Donald
in
Driver
2011
was there because he transitioned from Brett Favre days with Aaron Rodgers. But Donald Driver, was towards the end of his career when Aaron Rodgers really got ramped up. So, but yeah, you're right. And they've had, I mean, even at running back, what are you going to do at running back? You need something to take the pressure
No, but Dad,
off
the
of
thing is,
him.
I think we have one of the best running attacks in the league. That's my problem. The problem is the receivers. Who is Aaron going to throw to? You going to just run the ball the whole game? You know what I mean? Like,
you got to put a lot of trust in the other ones. You know, is he going to trust them enough? I mean, he has to now, but the moment that it doesn't happen, it's like, what's going to happen?
I really like. I'll say for the team, I really like our running back core. I think we have a very good running back system behind us with AJ Dillon and Jones. They're really good. When you want somebody to take the top off, you put Jones in there. He's similar to Kamara. He knows how to catch out the backfield and do different things like that and line out wide. Then if you want to get that short, gritty runs, you put AJ Dillon in with, because they call him Quadzilla because he has huge quads and stuff like that. I like our tight end core. I really do, because our number one tight end, he got injured last year. Robert Tonyan, he's going to be back. He's very good. But and of course we have the best O-lines in the league. But the receiving core, I'm worried about. Like, that's what I'm very much worried about that. Now on the defensive side of the ball, I'm not even worried about defense, honestly, because I'm like, well, I mean, we did this for the past years. We're going up. We're starting to improve. Now it's the offense that has to be, okay, are we going to be one of those teams where they're just going to run the ball? We're going to play defense that we're going to be. And it's like, man, I just don't know. But it's a lot of questions. If we do draft the receiver, okay, that's all fine and dandy. But the time when we had to, the time that we needed to, and you hear the fans say it, I mean, they're not oblivious to what's going on. I honestly don't like this front office. It is what it is. I think they've made good, solid moves that worked on the long run. But then again, the moves we need to make, they have not made. So I don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of questions that I have, especially as a fan, because every year I'm really tired of it. We get to the postseason, it looks promising. We get the number one seed, and then we lose. And in a heartbreaking way. It's not like we're getting blown out. It's a heartbreaking loss where I know we could have won that game. But one play missed here, one play missed there, one missed throw, one this, one that. It's so irritating. But that wraps up tonight's show. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Jay, for the production. Thank you to the audience for constantly supporting me. I will see you guys here on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good night.